I'm so tired of people saying that it's just a movie, it's just a comic book, it's just a TV show. Whatever. No, it's not. Stories are the building blocks of our culture, of ourselves, even of our own psychology. We are a product of the stories we tell ourselves about our own past and the experiences on a daily basis, but also the stories that we choose to spend time with. What types of values or feelings or whatever are they promoting? What types that we like to spend our time around? They're going to shape us. They're going to shape our personality and character, and they're going to shape our perception of the world and the acts and behaviors that we put out into the world. And people don't understand that. They go, it's just a movie. It's just this. I can like and promote whatever I want. Well, of course you can, but you should pay attention to the responsibility that you have.
Consume stories responsibly.
As a member of society, as a human being, responsibility to yourself.
Consider the consequences.
You need some balance. You need some certain criteria that is going to make sure you're promoting the right kind of works, or at least have thought through the type of work that this or that story is going to do in our culture, and then make your own decision whether or not that's something you want to support.
Consume stories responsibly. Consider the consequences. Consume stories responsibly.
Timer freeze there. There we go. Hello everyone, I'm Professor Geek. Welcome back to the channel, and welcome to another Office Hours live stream. Hopefully you can hear me coming through loud and clear. No technical glitches tonight or anything, but yeah, we are back again. I am super out of it tonight. Well, I'll talk about that a little bit, but hopefully everything's going well. I see no audio. Oh, there we go. There's my sound engravers. Affirmation. Of course, I'd hear the footsteps coming through the hall over here if any problems were going on. But welcome to chat first, then I'll get into things. Welcome Ghost Planet Max Inc. here first, as usual. Like Ghost Planet Max Inc. says, I hate Valentine's Day. Can't wait for St. Patrick's Day, so Leprechaun will come on Sci-Fi Channel. That cracked me up. I like Valentine's Day. Even when I was single, I liked Valentine's Day. But also as a Catholic, both of these are saints. Saint Valentine's Day. Dubious as to whether it was a real person or not, or at least some of the stories about the saint, anyway. But of course, St. Patrick's Day is a big one. Welcome Inzolo. Private Eye in Retrospectiva said you just got back from Sonic 3. It was pretty good. Cool. I still need to see Sonic 2. I really do. It's one of those things I want to see it, like it's on my list to see, but at the same time, I'm not in any hurry to see it, The Sonic franchise is, it's cool. It's cool. I just never got into it. It's never really not my franchise fandom, But I did like the first movie that I saw back in the day. So one of these days I'll get to it. Imaginative Hobbyist, welcome. Let's see, a lot of people here. Of course, my dear sound engraver. Studio Super, good to see you there. Oha Singh. Fizchozo's Corner. Dude, get a new name. Fizchozo. Always trips me up. Leia Plus Size, welcome. Mark Baker. Tom Spiegel. Stephen M. Nerd Wizard. Like that name. Nice. So yeah, this, I had a topic for tonight. I've got some reviews that we're going to do and stuff, and we'll chat about some things. Actually, there's, I want to talk in a moment. I want to talk about John Irwin sadly passing away. But it's, I had a topic for this week at some point. Sound Engraver and I were talking, and she mentioned something, and I thought, oh, that'd be a great topic for my stream. And I can't remember it. Saved my life. She can't remember it. We remember having the moment where I said that'd be a good topic, but I can't remember. So I didn't prep anything like that. Also, I had my daughter this week, and she was PMSing this week, big time. And she's special needs. So you can't, like a neurotypical child, you could say, look, you need to stop treating me like that. You need to calm down. You need that. But, you can't discipline an autistic child, to the extent that Alyssa's autistic. You can't discipline them like a neurotypical child and whatnot. So I just been screamed at all week. Just screamed, everything's a tragedy. You didn't put the book right there. The book is supposed to go over there, because she's very, obsessive compulsive too and stuff. And oh my gosh, I feel like a post-traumatic stress disorder or something. But dropped her off with her mother this morning. I love her dearly. I love all my time with her, but it was nice to get a little quiet. It really was. Didn't get a lot of sleep either, but my brain's just scattered from that all over the place. So yeah, we'll see how that works. How coherent tonight is, and how I don't even know if I'll go the full hour. Probably will. We'll probably start chatting about some things, but I'm pretty low energy. But I do have some reviews I want to get to, and yeah. Hang on. Achol, you're saying Irwin died last December? What? It was only December. Last December is last month, December 20th. But see, John Irwin was such a private person that they didn't even really announce it publicly until January 31st. So that's the deal. We'll talk about that in a second. My dear Sound Engraver for $5, thank you for the super chat. Says, only thing I can stand about Valentine's Day is when pastors can't stand about Valentine's Day is when pastors would feel obliged to say to the singles, let Jesus be your Valentine. Oh man. Some of those evangelical churches, not all, I know many of my listeners here are evangelical Christians, and that's great. I used to be one myself, but some of those churches are just a little nutty. They're just so corporate, and they're so, let Jesus be your Valentine. Yeah, it got a little weird. So yeah, let me talk about John Irwin. You're right, he did pass in December. John Irwin, I'm going to talk about him as I best know him as the voice of He-Man, the original voice of He-Man on the Masters of the Universe cartoon from the 80s. He was a television star, did some film stuff. A lot of people, older folks, might know him from Rawhide. He had a part on there with Clint Eastwood back in the day. He also did the voice for Reggie, in the old Archie cartoons. But I knew him as He-Man, and I've got a lot of great things to say about him in that capacity. Now, he was a very private person. He didn't really go to the cons. He didn't really get, a lot of information about himself out there. And it was from a place of humility, it seems like, because I remember Alan Oppenheimer saying, he would constantly ask John, like, come to the cons with me. Fans would love to meet you. The voice of He-Man. He's like, what do they want to meet me for? They don't want to meet me. They'd rather meet the animators or something like that, But, so he passed, I think, in December, as you were saying there. You said last December, somebody in the chat, and I was thinking, what? He didn't pass last December. But they didn't publicly announce it until just yesterday, I think, or a couple days ago. And, a lot of people talk about Peter Cullen, for example, the voice of Optimus Prime. And rightly so, and what a great job, and what warmth and strength and whatnot Peter Cullen brought to Optimus Prime. I even heard Peter Cullen once, talk about his getting the role of Optimus Prime, and his brother was there, and he said, this is Optimus Prime. He's like the leader. He's this great, huge warrior and everything, and his brother said, make him strong enough to be tender, to be compassionate, to be caring. Make him strong enough to be compassionate. And that's great. We see that in Optimus Prime's role. But Optimus Prime, the Transformers cartoon, came out in 84, if I'm not mistaken, and He-Man first aired in 83. Now, I'm not suggesting that Peter Cullen, took that from the He-Man characterization, but everything we just said about Peter Cullen and Optimus Prime can just as much be said about He-Man. Now, different ways. They approach the character in different ways. John Irwin certainly had a lot to owe to Bud Collyer, the first Superman voice of Superman on the old radio serials and cartoons even, in that he would do the higher register for Clark Kent and then the lower register for He-Man. So John Irwin did that for Prince Adam and then He-Man. But John Irwin's He-Man, he was able to balance it perfectly where he was completely authoritative. When He-Man spoke, you stopped and listened. And characters in the cartoon, certainly me as a child, being like 4 or 5 years old, 3 or 4 actually, watching it for the first time in my life. And then the other characters would listen. He had the authority, and he had the power. You knew you didn't mess around because He-Man was there. At the same time, there was nothing about He-Man's voice, John Irwin's characterization of He-Man, that was ever angry. he never, even when they would do the little like moral lessons at the end of the shows, and like Orko wouldn't clean his room and He-Man would come tell him about this or whatever, those kinds of things. He-Man never sounded angry or judgmental. He was imparting a life lesson, or he was saying, you really ought to do this and that, but it was like the perfect parent. It really was. He really did completely master that compassion and strength at the same time. And that's something that in the 80s, a lot of action heroes, the Rambos, the Terminators, all that kind of stuff. And I love those movies. Those are great. I'm not dissing those movies at all. But you think about the big, strong 80s male hero, and it's a lot more emphasis on the strength and the violence, kick butt and take names later, don't give me no crap, this kind of stuff. That's all great, right? But because of that, you think somebody like a character like He-Man, you think, oh, that's for kiddies. That's for kids stuff, of course he can be gentle because it's for kids. Then you get to a certain age and you realize, no, that's real masculinity. That's real masculinity. Being so secure in who you are, in your role in life, and the power that you have, that you don't feel the need to throw it in people's faces. That you can just go and speak with, as Peter Cullen so well put it, you can be strong enough to show compassion. And that's, He-Man did that perfectly. Of course they had effects on his voice, when he was He-Man, they'd put a little reverb, I think it is, which, or some kind of effect, sound engraver would know. But it was perfect. It was, that was He-Man. And I remember as a child, going to these little country churches. This is sort of a silly story. It's totally just, silly child reasoning, but I think there's a point to it. Going to little country churches as a child, we'd have pictures of Jesus everywhere, but we never had pictures of God the Father, especially as a kid, not even really wrapping my head around any concept of the Trinity or anything. And I remember thinking, okay, that's what Jesus looks like. Where does, which we think it is, who knows what Jesus really looked like. But as a child, I'd be like, well, what does God the Father look like? What does God look like if that's what Jesus looks like, just as a kid's understanding. And of course, no one really, the little country churches that no one knew anything about, why you wouldn't want to have an image of God the Creator, God the Father. So no one could tell me anything, but I remember in my mind's eye, I just decided on, okay, He-Man. He-Man is what I'll picture for God the Father, as a child, like saying my little kiddie prayers and stuff like that. And I don't think that was a mistake, because it was natural that my child brain would even choose that, because here's somebody who's, in a lot of ways all powerful, but 100% all compassionate too, I mean, he's the perfect father, if you could have a father like He-Man, you'd be, your childhood set, right? And John Irwin's portrayal was so much of that. Of course, it's the writing, of course, it's the, the animation and whatnot, but John Irwin's portrayal was just, man, it just really it gave my generation so much in that cartoon. And, however many episodes that was, and He-Man's gone on to, other incarnations. I've been watching the New Adventures of He-Man lately, which is fun, but it's nothing like the original. And of course, there was the 2002 or something remake that everybody kind of screams over, which I thought was okay, but nothing ever touched that original He-Man. The rotoscoped animation, the simple but poignant adventure stories, the plots, and then that characters. Alan Oppenheimer as Skeletor. No one's ever been able to touch it. Eat your heart out, Mark Hamill. You'll never touch Alan Oppenheimer's Skeletor. And John Irwin's He-Man was just perfection. Just perfection. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about that. And just kind of pay tribute to him. Yeah, Santa Graver says reverb and small delay. Yeah. So I just wanted to pay tribute to a great voice actor who really left his mark on a large generation who grew up loving the character. Tom Spiegel, thank you for this super chat there. Said, when you get around to Sonic 2, beware of 20 to 30 minutes of Natasha Rothwell. You'll have to cringe through. She will basically She's basically in her own raunchy Paul Feig movie. They got crammed into Sonic's movie. Oh, gross! Really? Paul Feig. I just need to stop me. I think you got another super chat here from Studio Super. Thank you very much, sir. Said these comments on the voice reminds me of a saying about God. He rules the world with two hands, one being justice and the other being mercy. Yeah. And not even to the I'm trying to think of an example of a character. I don't know, I'm sure they're out there. I don't have the brain capacity to think of it right now. But it'd be one thing for a character to have a certain voice that they spoke to their allies with, and then the angry voice that they spoke to their, enemies with. But you think even when He-Man spoke to Skeletor in those cartoons, it was Skeletor, it was almost like he was chastising a child who'd been misbehaving, It was and he would save Skeletor if he could. That's aspects of the true iconic Superman that would shine through in the He-Man series. It's just brilliant. So brilliant. I agree with you, Stephen M. Yeah, Mark Hamill only knows how to do one voice as a villain. He used it for the Joker, the Trickster on the short-lived Flash 90 series, and as Skeletor in Master of the Universe Revulsions. Revulsions, thank you. I will never understand how people, still to this day, try to defend Kevin Smith's garbage Master of the Universe series. I'm on Facebook, I'll be, join certain groups of like classic He-Man fans, and they'll share like images or old ads for the toys and whatnot. And every now and then I have to leave certain groups because they'll show some stupid image of the Kevin Smith series, and you get these utter douchebags in the comics, in the comments section. Anytime somebody asks themselves questions, they're just being their douchebag they'll say, I mean, look, did I have problems with it? Sure. But did I hate the whole thing? No. There was actually a lot of good things. Anytime somebody starts their review by asking themselves questions, they're automatically trying to place themselves and situate themselves in the reasonable space in between all of these crazy people going to extremes on the issue. Look, I mean, did I love it? No. But did I hate it? No, I didn't hate it either. It's just, because you're so all-knowing and wise and on the middle ground, Switzerland, just shut up. Oh, I hate those kinds of reviews. But, yeah, and no, the second season didn't redeem it. It wasn't a course correction. It's all a bunch of debaggery. It's horrible. So I don't have respect for anybody who tries to defend those garbage series. But anyway, we will move on. Oh yeah, Mark Baker, yeah. And people just gloss over that. It doesn't matter that James Gunn's not a Superman fan, guys. It looks really good. So Kevin Smith, doesn't matter that he didn't like He-Man, yeah. Hollywood is so far gone. So far gone. I don't know. We can talk about that ad nauseum. I did have a few reviews, though, that I'll get to. And we can talk about more stuff here as we go along, or we can come back to He-Man if you guys have comments or whatever. But I wanted to get to some of these. First, I'll show you something I am reading right now. I'm not ready to review this. I just started reading it. I got this trilogy, the Dark Forces trilogy, the books, the novels, which apparently, follow the games. And it took me a while to hunt these down in my collection for my Star Wars Expanded Universe collection, because the third one in particular is very hard to find. I had to pay a pretty penny to get that one. But they're really nice books, really well designed. The art's great, and they're proper novels. They're proper novels, but they've got some really great art illustrations in them as well. I'm trying to find an example here and there. Nice painting illustrations. But the novels are by William Dietz, and the art is Dean Williams. So there's 3 of them, and they do follow generally the story of the Dark Forces games. And this is, of course, Kyle Katarn, the real story for how the rebels found the plans for the Death Star and whatnot. And it's great stuff. I haven't finished reading the first one yet, but I will just say, I thought I'd always heard that they were the books of the games. I thought, okay, this is just giving me the story of the game. Oh no, it's so much more. It's actually We get the backstory of Kal Katarn's father in the Rebel Alliance as a leader and such, and so much more than just, you know, the story of the game. So it's pretty good. All right. Got another super chat here. Oops, let me scroll up. Studio Super, thank you so much. Said to those guys, defending the Kevin Smith He-Man, I say, come on, guys. You don't need to be on this relationship. You deserve better. Can you say it for me? You deserve better. I know, yeah. I've said that before too. That they're like they're in a battered relationship. They can't not walk. Look, guys, come on. They made it a little lighter in the next movie. It's like a battered woman who says, yeah, but he got me flowers. He's changing. It's so nuts. Anyway. Last week, I did a review of the Drew Karpyshyn trilogy of Mass Effect novels. And I'm still in the middle of Mass Effect 3. I didn't get a lot of time to have my gaming marathons. Plan to have one of those tonight, though. It's going to be great. So I'm still playing Mass Effect 3, still enjoying it. I think I'm in the the Omega DLC now, which is really great. And I have been following a guide in what to read up to these points and whatnot. And so I showed this on the stream a while ago. I got the complete Mass Effects comics. It's quite a tome, but this is an omnibus. This is all of the comics that were written in the Mass Effect universe. And John Jackson Miller writes a lot of them. There are a lot of great names are in this for the, from the comic industry, especially if you're a Star Wars EU person like I am. This is actually really good. You get backstories. You get the origins of the Elusive Man. I just mentioned I'm playing the Omega DLC right now in Mass Effect 3. You get the whole backstory, how Arya Talak lost Omega, the Pirate Queen, how she lost Omega to the general that you see in the game. That's one really great thing. I said it about the novels, but it's very true about the comics as well. None of it is just sort of fluff. None of it is just sort of, oh, here's a little backstory that isn't going to tie into anything ever, but here, it's something with the Mass Effect logo that we can sell. No, everything in here actually shows up in the game. Whether it's written before the fact, after the fact, I haven't checked the publication dates or anything. But the people or whatever, there are characters that show up in here and there. In terms of the continuity, it goes all the way. There's the final story in this, in terms of reading it sort of chronologically like I was, is a prequel story to Mass Effect Andromeda. I haven't played that yet. I know it's completely different characters. I know it's a completely different kind of story that takes place with Earth going out to find other habitable planets or whatever. I'll probably try to play it just to say I played it, since I'm doing the whole Mass Effect universe. I'm not expecting anything like the first trilogy, but that's as far as this goes. It doesn't even go past Mass Effect 3, so it hasn't spoiled any ending for Mass Effect 3. I know people are apparently divided on the ending. I'm getting to that on my own. But it doesn't go even that far. It just gives you great backstories, more time with these characters. Kasumi, you get her meeting her partner, that she was in love with when you meet her. I'm trying to think of some of the other things in here. You get the backstory of Ashley Williams on Eden Prime there before you meet her in the first game. You get Caden Alenko's experience at the biotics program that he was talking about at one point. Thane Krios shows up. Who else shows up in here? A lot of them. Erdnot Rex is in here at one point. It's great. So it's really, if you like Mass Effect, if you play the games, it's not cheap because it's a huge omnibus of comics, Dark Horse's omnibus of Mass Effect, but it's under, maybe was it 30-ish bucks or so or something? I forgot what it was. It's really worth it though. If you like the games and if you like the story of the games, you don't have to read the novels to enjoy the comics. They do tie into the same stories though. It's fun, if you want to do all that. But I do recommend the Mass Effect comics. They're really great stuff. So that's gets the professor's thumbs up. Really good tie-ins. I like that because I hate it when something's a tie-in and it's a story set in the universe which has no connections to anything. There's a place for that, but when you first start reading tie-ins, you want it to be related to the stories that you already know and love. So. Apologize too. I've been kind of phlegmy all night tonight. Even earlier this evening when I was reading at Mass. Got through it though, but Been weird. So you guys talking about Leia plus size. You had a great comment, Leia plus size, too, on one of my previous videos, but you guys are talking about the Cap 4. Can you believe that? It's so very telling. I mean, we all knew that Sam Wilson isn't Captain America. And really, go back and all these channels that we're talking about, and they were there to review every episode of Cap Falcon and Winter Soldier or whatever, Disney Plus's garbage series. Why? I mean, you don't need to give it a chance to know that Sam Wilson shouldn't be Captain America. It makes no sense. It's just a diversity ploy. It's a horrible idea, and you knew that Disney Plus was going to push a bunch of crap in that. And then when they were greenlighting a movie. Anybody with a half a brain knew that that was going to be garbage. It was going to be a bunch of DEI. It's a wrong move. Don't even pay it any attention. And then the big news was that, what's his name? The actor played Sam Wilson. I know his name, and I'm just blanking on it right now. But he was doing an interview about the upcoming movie, and he basically said, to me, Captain America, and what he represents, America shouldn't even be part of that. And he said, it's universal, it's blah, blah, blah. And people have tried to defend him. Anthony Mackie, yeah, thank you. People have tried to defend him, saying that, oh, well, he was in Europe when he was saying that, so he was trying to, no, you can't defend that. You shut up. I mean, I've explained this many times. It's not hard to grasp when you're talking about Superman standing for truth, justice, and the American way, or Steve Rogers' Captain America. These heroes stand for the American spirit. They don't stand for any one political party or any one administration or political, time period or whatever. They stand for what the American way should be. Steve Harper wrote a really great essay that I give to my students sometimes called Super Myth, in which he's arguing for Superman to be considered an epic hero, according to Joseph Campbell's 4 functions of the epic hero. And he says that, let's talk about what Superman stands for. And he says, the American way, and he says this is what the things that America would like to live up to, but knows it doesn't always live up to. And what's so hard to grasp about that? You can hate the state of the country at any given time. You can hate the state of American politics at any given time, and still be proud to be an American for the American spirit, the American way, that which we wish we could live up to. There is there is such a thing as the American spirit. There is such a thing as the idea of freedom, liberty, and equality, and so forth. Not equity, but equality. And there's and that's what Captain America stands for. And if you know anything about Captain America in the comics, I mean, he's frozen in the World War II era, and originally comes back like right around post-Vietnam era and all of that. Of course, he's not the government's man, and all of that, but he still stands for America. He had that one little time where he became the what do you call himself when he gave up the suit for a while? It was something like, it wasn't the Vagabond, but it was something like that. It was a name he gave himself that meant sort of man without a country. But he realized that was silly. He realized, no, the American way, the American spirit is always there. It doesn't matter if this administration comes or the government's doing this or that. Nomad, yeah, that was the name he gave himself. Nomad, thank you. And so it's not hard. It's you don't have to defend or apologize for the America in Captain America. But Anthony Mackie felt he did, and he flat out said the America shouldn't even be any part of what Captain America stands for. I mean, that right there, folks, tells you everything you need to know. If you still go see this movie, please don't tell me that you saw this movie. I will think you're an utter and complete dumbass. I really will. I won't want you around, okay? And I say that kind of jokingly, but kind of seriously, too. There are people who just feel like it's their duty to come back and report to me about some of these garbage movies that I've been saying, guys, don't even bother. Just ignore it. And they're like, oh, prof, I saw that movie and you're so right. You lost me at I saw that movie. Okay, I don't care if you agree with me after you paid for your ticket. Well, I didn't pay for it, though. Why watch it? Anyway, got me on a little bit of a soapbox there. Got another super chat from Studio Super. Thank you so much. Said, I said before, changing Soup's motto is like changing Captain America's name to Captain Planet or something. Yeah, Captain World. Apparently these guys paid attention to what I said and took it seriously. Yeah, that's one thing. You know, I loved so many things about Superman Returns, but it got so many things wrong, as we all know. And one of the things that really ticked me off was when Perry White is given the sort of talk to his reporters. Superman's the big story, and he's saying, "You go cover this. Hey, fashion, is that a new costume? Cover this." And he says, what does he do? Does he still stand for truth, justice, all that stuff?" And he actually said all that stuff carefully so that he wouldn't say American way, because Anna Bryan Singer was like, "We can't say that these days," or whatever. Screw that. I mean, it was the Bush era too, at post 9/11, and so Hollywood was a big no on the government and everything or whatever. Screw that. Superman stands for truth, justice, and the American way. Captain America is there embodying the American spirit. So if you can't accept that, if you can't proudly tout that, shut up. Get up. Don't drop that shield, man. You are so unworthy of that part. The whole story is unworthy of the name of Captain America because it's not Captain America. Anyway. Yeah. Nowadays, if Hollywood had their way, he'd stand for diversity, equity, and inclusion. It's so adorable hearing these celebrities talk about DEI and trying to pretend that, like, guys, DEI is a really great thing. I don't know why the nation is turning their back on it. But stop it. Stop it. Stop it. We said no. Just stop all these anachronisms, still trying to pretend that they're still relevant. Anyway. All right. Let me cover another review. Last week I said that I was in the middle of reading. I wasn't ready to review it yet, but I was in the middle of reading DC Legends. Rereading it technically. I'd read it once way back in the day. Didn't even remember everything that, all the ins and outs that had happened in it. But I reread it carefully and I finished it. And I gave away a little bit last week, what the gist of it is. This is the first crossover follow-up to Infinite Crisis. So in the 80s, when Crisis happened, just combined all of the different DC universes into one, at least for a time, and they needed some sort of sequel, so they came up with Legends, and they really got an incredible team. I mean, you got John Ostrander, Len Wein, John Byrne, Carl Kessel. There's a really great introduction from the editor in this version, in this edition here, the graphic novel, talking about it. And it's a big, heavy endeavor whenever you're going to draw that many heavy hitter characters from the DC universe into one story and give them all their own developed through line, plot development and whatnot. It takes careful writing, and John Ostrander really did do it quite well. Now, as I mentioned last week, the story is about Darkseid. He's on Apokolips, and he's got total order, what he calls it, which is just total bleak despair on Apokolips, and yet Earth has always eluded him in this. And it's the heroes of Earth, Superman, Captain Marvel, Batman, Green Lantern, and everybody their legend has always inspired the people to fight back and to stand up for liberty and so forth, and heroism and for, compassion and so forth. And that's always made Earth fall through his fingers. And so he hatches this plan to try to bring down the legends of the superheroes. And he commissions Glorious Godfrey. If you don't know Glorious Godfrey, you don't know your Jack Kirby and Apocalypse lore. Glorious Godfrey's the one, just briefly, he's got the power, sort of hypnotic power in his voice and whatnot. He goes to Earth under this guise of his character named G. Gordon Godfrey, and he starts speaking out against superheroes. It's kind of like, what's the name of that guy who wrote The Seduction of the Innocent back in the day? The psychologist talking about how they're bad for children and all this kind of stuff. And so G. Gordon Godfrey's there talking about how heroes are a problem. They're playing God in our world, and more people are hurt because of them and so forth. And because he's got this hypnotic, aspect to his voice, the masses start to agree with him. They start to turn on the superheroes. Now, right then and there, if you're paying attention to superhero media over the last 10 years, then you should be thinking, oh my gosh, you should be rolling your eyes. Enough with the stupid, do we even need superheroes kind of stories. They've been done to freaking death. James Gunn's going to do it again in his stupid Superman movie. Enough with the public wondering if we even need heroes, or turning on these heroes, and then there's a division, and then the heroes have to prove themselves. Enough. That's done to death, right? I am in full agreement with that. I hate that idea, the very concept now. However, we can't turn our backs on the original stories back in the day that actually did that well in a proper context, right? And as I mentioned before, the time for DC Legends, this was 80s, right after the Crisis had happened. DC Universe is very different from Marvel. Marvel has a universe in which you can ask that question a little bit more, in terms of the public and the relationship to heroes and so forth. But DC had always been the hopeful universe. It had always been the ones where the heroes were always leading the people, always being true legends to the people. So if you're going to have a story at that time in which the DC universe tackles this issue, this story does it well by actually having Glorious Godfrey there, sort of brainwashing the people. So it wasn't an organic thought from the people themselves. There weren't things that happened that actually made people, really wonder if the heroes are a good thing for us or not. This was some of the garbage that I hated about Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns. You don't push that in the DC universe. It has to be done in a very key context, in a very specific way, if you're going to address it at all. And Legends does it well. If I could say anything critical about it, you do see it's given to you pretty much right up front that's Darkseid's ploy, and he's got certain mechanisms. Like in the first part of the story, Captain Marvel, Billy Batson, is fighting this big macro man. He's called this big giant man from Apocalypse. And he's captured Captain Marvel in his grasp, and Captain Marvel says, well, I can't get out of his grasp, but if I shrink down to Billy Batson, he could get out. So he says, Shazam, the lightning strikes, but the lightning triggers these explosions that he doesn't know are there in Macro Man's chest, and makes him fall over as though dead. So Captain Marvel's like, oh my gosh, I killed a man. I killed a villain. And he, decides he can't be a hero anymore for a time because he was responsible for killing a villain. And that kind of ploy is a great ploy for these heroes, but it's dragged out a little bit too far, I think, before it starts to become addressed and starts to become, let's get a little momentum past that. And I think this is a product of it being sort of an issue-by-issue series. There are some tie-ins, with other stories that give you a little bit more development, like the Justice League at the time and Firestorm at the time and so forth, give you a little bit more development of the story. But overall, it's done really well. I think it's just the episodic nature of it, where you have to keep revisiting and laying the groundwork for what had happened. So that drags on a little bit too far, I think, if I could say anything critical about it. But otherwise, I think it's just really solid. It's really great to revisit this time in the DC universe. Wonder Woman is first on the scene. In fact, Legends is the first time she really reveals herself globally to the world. And this is the George Perez Wonder Woman. I reviewed Gods and Mortals a little while ago. In that, she fights Decay, and she's on Boston television, and they know about her in Boston. But this marks her first appearance, kind of worldwide, fighting these people. Here's her famous panel, her famous entrance scene there, and of course Guy Gardner checking her out from the back there. but really great. And you have Carl Kessel inks Wonder Woman. It's really good. I liked his work on the character as well. There's also a moment where Jason Todd as Robin has a really heroic moment in this story. He undergoes some really harrowing trials in DC Legends, and he has a very heroic moment at the end. And I think a lot of times we forget that Jason Todd was a really cool Robin before he became super bratty. A lot of people say that, oh, well, that was before the Crisis. He was a great character, but they changed it after the Crisis and tried to make him bratty. I don't think that's the case. I think it's a natural trajectory of the character. Jason Todd, actually, I've been going through these graphic novels in order, according to a list I found on Reddit that looked pretty comprehensive at first glance, but they were missing a lot of graphic novels, which I think are just harder to find. Coming to me in the mail Monday, I actually finally found Batman's Second Chances, which is the graphic novel. It's the compilation of the Jason Todd origin story after Crisis. So they had brought Jason Todd, he had his origin story, whatever, pre-Crisis, but post-Crisis, they tell his origin story, putting him in the continuity there. And he's got a whole different background than Dick Grayson. I mean, Dick Grayson tragically lost his parents, but he had a loving family. He came from a very loving family. His parents, supported him in every way, taught him and loved him. Jason Todd is an orphan. He's out there being abused by gangs and whatnot, a street tough little punk, trying to take the wheels off the Batmobile. So he's got a bit more of a background to overcome. And I think at first, though, we do forget that he was a great Robin. He was really Batman needed a new Robin. Nightwing was off doing his thing, and Batman needed a new Robin. And Jason Todd fit that bill quite well. But I think it makes a lot of sense, and I think it just sort of organically happened. People blame it on post-Crisis. I think it was more organic than that too, though. That as he grew older, he just became a bit brattier because he did have that background. It made sense that he was going to be a little more rebellious and so forth. And I'm still against ever bringing him back. I think Jason Todd died. It was tragic, but he should have stayed dead. I know there are Red Hood aficionados now who would just, just want to scream in my face for daring say that, but I don't like Jason Todd after they brought him back. I don't like the Red Hood story. It's like Damian Wayne. It's just enough. Get it out of here. They're annoying. I don't like those characters, but that's just me. But all that to say, classic Jason Todd does quite well in this book as well. And I'll read. I'm not going to give away the ending, but I won't even tell you what character says this, but there's a really great summation of kind of the point of the story that one character says in the end here. Let me see if I can find it here to read it. What constitutes a legend? The legends of these superheroes. What constitutes a legend? Is it powers and abilities beyond those of mortal men? Or is it a fighting heart that refuses to acknowledge defeat? For centuries beyond numbering, from the ancient campfires to the towering condominiums, man has relied on legends to hold back the night. Men call and so forth. But that idea, I don't want to read too much more in because he starts talking about who his character is and whatnot. But men rely on legends to hold back the night. It's what I've been saying about mythology, superheroes as mythology. These characters, this is the cultural work they do. They are heroes, hold back the night, right? They help us push back the night within ourselves. They inspire us to push back the night within culture if we're really listening to them in the right way. I was actually just writing a preface. I'm reissuing my Heroic Inspirations book, reissuing it on Kindle. So it's going to be, I'm reissuing it in parts too. So the first one's going to be just the DC Trinity, and that'll be out next month actually. In fact, I've got a second short story as part of my Objects of Desire series that's coming out actually this week. As soon as I get the cover art in, I'm going to release that on Kindle. But then in the next week or so, I'll be working on putting out the Heroic Inspirations, first part of that, which will be the DC Trinity. And I've revamped it, I've reworked it, I've put a lot more in, I've added a preface. And in the preface, I talk about that, how these heroes are there. The work that they do is to teach us. In fact, there's a great, oh shoot, do I still have it? Yeah. Still have it here. There's a great quote by Joseph Campbell that I use in that. Oh, no, I don't have it on the... Oh, actually, yeah, I've got it in the Word file. All right, hang on. There might be a cackling here. Hopefully not. Sometimes when I bring up Word... shoot. All right. Hopefully that wasn't there. There might have been a cackling sound on the audio there, but I just had to pull that up. But the quote is, I think of mythology as the homeland of the muses, the inspirers of art, the inspirers of poetry. To see life as a poem and yourself participating in the poem. Shoot, where is it? Let me find the whole quote here. It keeps eluding me. There it is. Okay. I think of mythology as the homeland of the muses, the inspirers of art, the inspirers of poetry. To see life as a poem and yourself participating in a poem is what the myth does for you. And that's so true. That's what the myth does for you. That's what mythology should inspire you to. That's what it goes for. So that's the review of Legends. Definitely recommend it. It's a good, solid DC story. If you're a DC fan, you definitely want that. So, all right. Moving on. I do have some super chats here. Let me get to before I move on to my last review. Let's see. Where is it? Going back to the first one I missed. Eldritch Fan, was it your super chat? Yours the ones I missed? Let me double check here. Yeah, I think Eldritch Fan was the first one here. Good to see you, Eldritch Fan. I just had it, now I lost it. Let me go here and just click on the fan funding. Okay. Eldritch Fan said, you hear that theory Mackie was low-key warning. He was low-key warning people about the movie? Is that a theory out there? I didn't know that. Later on, you say, worst part is I hear the conservatives saying, no super. Every time someone talks about a conservative pundit, I just think of Daily Wire. And look, I get it. Matt Walsh has done a lot for conservative thinking. You know, the movies he's put out and whatnot, but come on, like, how can you sit there and listen to somebody who's just straight up insulting you for liking geek stuff? You know, just, this guy needs to get over himself. Anyway. Studio Super said, I said before, changing Soup's motto is like changing Captain America's name to Captain... Oh, yeah, I read that one. Okay. Just trying to catch up here. This is the Studio Super one I missed. So with Superman, I hate it when people write up these latest movie failings as well. It's because the character is outdated and doesn't work. Yeah. Like, how would you know? You haven't tried. Yeah. And that's what they always do, right? You know, well, you know, Superman's just outdated, you know, and you gotta update him. You gotta update him. It's just really hard. Who was the director for The Flash? The guy who directed the It movies and whatnot? This was like a week or so ago. He was saying, yeah, you know, Flash failed because just not enough people across demographics are really like the Flash. You know, he's just not that popular of a character, and that's why it failed. Like, are you freaking kidding me? I mean, he can't really truly believe that. Somewhere deep down, he's got to know Ezra Miller and that whole take on the DC universe had everything to do with why that movie failed. Not because, well, I made a great movie and everybody would have come to it if the character was just more popular. I'm like, come on, how delusional can you be? Flash is perfectly popular. I mean, the series, to say nothing of the great TV series back in the 90s, what about the CW series that before Berlanti went all psycho was, you know, decent. Had a lot of fan following and whatnot. Flash is plenty popular to carry a movie across demographics. Even it's just people not knowing how to handle the character and being so stupid with, you know, Warner Brothers. Typical story of Warner Brothers, not knowing what to do with their popular franchises. Welcome. Let's see, Verse by Shape. Thank you for the chat there. No comment, but chat support anyway. I appreciate it. All right. I think I got everything I missed there. Okay. Yeah, I don't get Matt Walsh support. I mean, just because somebody's aligned with your politics doesn't mean you have to support them. You know, Matt Walsh is just a grumpy old fart. He's just, stop watching your superheroes. Get out there and kill some food. You know, look, good for you if that's what you're into. But he just, he rubs me the wrong way. Definitely does. Anyway, let me get to my last review for tonight, which is continuing my journey in the Dark Knight, Legends of the Dark Knight run. So, as usual, give my little background on it that I gave each time in case there are new viewers turning in to the reviews, especially when I turn them out. But I've been going through the run of Legends of the Dark Knight, which started in, was it 92, 91 or 92? This is after Batmania of 1989 hit, and a lot of people wanted to go to the comic shop and read Batman comics. And they found that it was, I mean, people were picking up the Batman comics, but whether you were looking at Batman or Detective Comics, these were continuities already in the middle of a story, you know? So that was hard for people to get into. And they didn't always want to buy some big graphic novel. So they created this whole new run that was stories of Batman early on in his career. That was the first caveat to Legends of the Dark Knight. And the second descriptor was that there wouldn't be any major superhero crossovers. So you didn't really have to know a lot about the DC universe overall. It was just a really good jumping on point for new readers who just wanted to read some Batman comics. And they're really great stuff too. You know, we started out with Denny O'Neil and his run. I keep wanting to say Prey, but it's not Prey. Prey came later, which was great. You know, so we read so many great runs in this. This time around, I'm up to issues 39 and 40, which are by written and drawn by Brian Talbot. And this is a really cool little 2-issue story arc. It's called Mask. And the cover to the first issue really tells you everything you need to know there. The gist of it is that Batman wakes up in a hospital being told that he's a delusional homeless alcoholic who stitched this costume together out of rags and whatnot that he found. And he has these episodes, dissociative episodes where, you know, he had such a horrible childhood on the streets and whatnot that he's created this persona for himself to be Batman and trying to empower himself in some which way. And he wakes up and he looks different. He's got this grizzled, you know, gruff on his face. His hair's his muscles aren't, you know, what they should be, what he remembers as when he's Batman. And he's there for some weeks in this hospital bed. You know, nurses and his psychologist is coming in and seeing him. And he's having a really hard time. After a while, it's like, no, I mean, could this possibly be true? Could this possibly, no, I know it. I'm Batman. Could this possibly be true? And he's listening to like news and he's not hearing any news about a Batman or anything like that. And of course, this is the actual Batman, the iconic Batman of the DC universe. So we know by the end, it's a, you know, something's happening. He really is Batman, you know, and that's the truth. But going through this challenge, he faces the journey that he has to believe in himself no matter what. He's got all these voices coming and telling him, you're not as cool as you think you are. You're not strong like you think you are. If you could really see yourself the way the world really sees you, you'd realize what a joke you are. You need help. Accept that you're not fulfilling any kind of grand role in the world. Just accept it and, you know, go through these stages and whatnot. And he has to just learn to believe in himself. And this nurse shows up, is showing some compassion, and you know, she tells him at one point, believe in yourself. So he knows that there's cracks in this and go. And of course, in the end, it is this villain. You know, I won't give away the details, but you know, because it's not an Elseworld story. It's the real Batman of the DC universe. So obviously he's really Batman. You know, by the end, it's going to be some sort of villain playing this sort of joke on him. But I just like that sort of meta commentary. You know, this is the kind of inspiration I draw out of hero stories in my Heroic Inspiration series. You know, I'll be putting out the first 3 next month. And this month, February. This in a couple weeks, the first one will come out on Amazon Kindle. Once I've put out a lot of them, I'll compile them into a hardcover, but that might be a year or so before that happens. And the Kindle reads are just going to be like $3 or something, you know, for each chapter. The first one will be the DC Trinity, Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman, and that's just volume 1. I'll do more Superman, Batman, and Wonder Womans down the line once I've covered some Marvel and other characters as well. But this is the kind of inspiration that I look for and draw out of stories, where the story can kind of teach you a message about believing in yourself. In this story's instance, I will say that story-wise, it should have been told in longer than just 2 issues, because the reveal does get a little rushed in the second issue, but it's still well done. It's not missing anything. You just feel like the story should have breathed a bit more. That's a common critique I have with these runs, which it isn't really the writer's fault so much as it is just the with the comic line, they would just give writers, unless they were really tried and true writers or somehow they were able to get a 4 or 5 issue, run. Usually it was 1 to 2, maybe even 3 issues, and depending on the really cool idea the writer might have had, that might just need not enough space for the story to breathe properly in terms of pacing and whatnot. So there was a slight bit of that in here, but otherwise I really do recommend Batman Mask. It's a great inspirational story. It's Batman choosing to believe in who he is, and of course the world needs him and so forth. And drawing on his past, everything that went on in his past, there's a lot of psychology in this. They get into the Jungian idea of the mask. The story's called Mask. It's really great. It has a great message in that. So I do recommend, if you're a Legends of the Dark Knight fan, this is issue 39 and 40 of the first run, and this is pre-silly New 52 garbage. This is good stuff. So I recommend that as well. I'll continue with my journey through the Legends of the Dark Knight as I'm going, and then I'll also give a review of Batman Second Chances once I finish reading that this week too. All right, got a couple super chats there. Let me get to. Studio Super said, go back and find it here so I can try and put it on the screen. From Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, I'll paraphrase. I'm going to tell you something as a friend. You suck. It's not that the character doesn't work or is outdated. It's because you suck, okay? You suck. I don't remember that in Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, but I like the sentiment. I didn't watch Fresh Prince that much back in the day. It was on when I was in school and everything. It wasn't one of my go-to shows or anything. Did I miss anything else? Let me just double check here. Yeah, I think that was it. Because I got an Eldritch fans there. Yeah. All right. So yeah, let me as we're wrapping things up here, I will say if you would still like to read Girlfriend in the Basement's the short story that's on Kindle right now. It's doing incredibly well. But if you would still like if you'd like to review that, I don't know if I'm going to give away my stories again for free for a day, like I did Girlfriend in the Basement, because I really didn't get any reviews out of giving the freebies away. I got reviews, which are great, but I didn't really get any reviews from people getting the free copy, and that's the whole point of me doing it. So, not that I'm going to be like policing people and making sure, well, you got a copy, you need to be doing a review. But if you want a free copy of Girlfriend in the Basement, or if you want a free copy of the one that's coming out this week, the one that's coming out this week is called Posing Nude. And it's part of the short story series called Objects of Desire, which is these little sort of like Twilight Zone-esque, Tales of the Dark Side-esque tales, but they're moral stories about the consequences of using people and loving things instead of loving people and using things. So they get a little steamy, but I think they're done well. Yeah, Sound Engraver's got her stream tomorrow night at 5:45 p.m. But I'll put my email in the chat again. I've given my email out before many times, but if you'd like a link to Girlfriend in the Basement or to the next one or whatever, I don't mind giving you a link to a free copy of it if you would like to review it for me. I just don't know if I'm still going to give it away free for a whole day or not. Maybe, I don't know, we'll see. But there's my email there. Got a number super chat here on the way out from Michael Scimbati. Good to see you there. Or not a super chat, this is just your member for the 3 months. Thank you for your membership there. You said, why is the Penguin show bad? Isn't Penguin a mobster in the comics, especially in No Man's Land? I haven't watched the Penguin show, so I couldn't tell you what specifically is bad about it and what specifically is good about it. Penguin is a mobster. I 100% agree with that. I love the Penguin, especially like in the Arkham games, as being he's kind of one of those great bridge characters from being a mobster to the supervillain, The reason why I have no interest in the Penguin series, and I'm not going to watch it, and I don't care about it, I couldn't care less about it, is the fact that it's from Matt Reeves' The Batman continuity. It's all part of that universe, and I don't like that treatment of Batman. That's not Batman. I hate that. Yeah, I'm just not into it. Don't like it. Don't care for it at all. So yeah, no, I can't give you any these are the reasons why its take on Penguin is bad. I just don't care about having any story in that universe. And that's one thing that a lot of people don't get, when I say it, they're like, yeah, but this show was really good, or this one was really good. I'm like, look, I don't care. It's part of that universe. Like, for the example, the Marvel MCU. Once Endgame happened, that was a deal breaker for me. I don't care about any story that goes on in the Marvel Cinematic Universe anymore, because they, with Captain Marvel and Endgame, they just crapped on everything that I loved about that universe. Not that everything they'd done before that was utterly perfect. I mean, they could make a mistake here or there, but they fundamentally ruined that universe for me with Captain Marvel and Endgame. And people are like, well, but I think they're going to turn it around with Fantastic Four. How can they turn it around if it's in the same continuity? I don't understand how people can just forget all of the crap that they've built this new thing on. Yeah, but this new thing looks pretty good. No, it doesn't. I don't care how shiny it is. I don't care how, whatever. This is my thinking, and people just don't understand this. And I don't understand how they can not understand this, But even when Zack Snyder was about to do the Justice League, and people were like, well, you give it a chance because I think he's going to make it a little brighter now. No, he can't. It's built on the same crap foundation, So when it comes to something like Penguin, I don't know. Maybe the show is amazing. Maybe it's so well written. I still couldn't care less about it because it's on that foundation. It's in that universe. So that's why I don't want to have anything to do with it. Just to explain that, but yeah, I didn't mean to say that. Oh, I know these things in it are horrible, and so forth. I never watched Gotham, Michael Skimbody. You're talking about Jerome, the character Jerome in there. I've heard people praise certain things about Gotham too. For me, I'll say this and then I'll sign off here. But the thing that broke me, or the thing that turned me off of Gotham, was before it was ever even aired. The producer said, look, I'm not interested in making a superhero show. I want to make a cop show. Okay, that's what I want in it. And I was like, okay, well, thanks for telling me that, but I'm not interested then. Because I don't want to watch another cop show. I want to watch a superhero show. Or at least a show that's cognizant of it being in a superhero universe. Now, of course, eventually Gotham became that, but they ended up completely blowing everything before Batman even became Batman. All of the villains are there and everything, and stuff. So it just, I'm sure there are. It's not for me, so that's why I don't know what you're talking about. But I have heard people say that character was interesting or whatever. So, yeah. All right. I have talked myself out. I am done. But had a good stream with you guys. Appreciate it. Got some good reviews done there that I'll cut out. I'll keep on going with these reviews. Again, I think that's the key. I think pointing people to great works that already exist for them to go revisit or visit for the first time. I think that's the only thing you can do with culture. I think to a certain extent, standing up and saying that this or that's bad, yeah, some degree that's necessary. But I don't believe in just making that your be-all and end-all, because then you're just part of the problem, as I've said before. So pointing out the good stuff, we'll get to more of it. But that's all for now. Thank you guys for hanging out. Till next time, keep enjoying and digging deeper into the true blue hero stories you love. Thanks for watching.